Today we have some extra practice of multiplying with decimals. Once again, if you haven't been practicing your math facts, today might be a little tricky for you. You'll find that if you're not getting done with your math lesson in class, it's simply because your math facts need some fine tuning and some touch up. So let's take a look here. We're just simply moving the decimals some more today. We're working some number models, and I'm going to teach you a trick of finding a percent of a number. Let's take a look here. First of all, we're going to place a decimal point in each problem. So number one here, we have 243 times 7.06, which equals 171.558. Okay, 0.558. So there's three numbers after the decimal in your answer. In my question, I only have two numbers after the decimal, so I have to change that 243 to 24.3. So now I have one number after the decimal here and two numbers after the decimal, so my answer has 3. Let's move over to problem number 2 here. Okay. Now it's 16.4 times 0.7. My answer is 1148. So I'm taking a look at my problem. I have the 4's after the decimal in 16.4 and the 7's after the decimal in 0.7. So that means my answer has to have two numbers after the decimal. So my answer is 11.48. Problem number 3 states this. 827 times 9.5 equals 7.8565. So my answer has 4 numbers after the decimal. So that means my problem has to have 4 numbers after the decimal. 9.5 is done for me, so I have to add, so 827, I need to put 3 numbers after the decimal there. So that means I have a decimal before the 8. I might as well even put a 0.827 there. So I have 3 numbers after the decimal here. I have 1 number after the decimal here, so that makes 4 numbers after the decimal. So my answer has 4 numbers after the decimal. Last problem of practice for this. 7563 times 5.1 equals 3,857 and 13 hundredths. So I have 2 numbers after my decimal in my answer. 5.1 gives me 1 number after the decimal. So that means 7563, I have to have 1 number after the decimal, so I'm going to make 3 after the decimal. So my number there is 756 and 3/10 times 5.5 and 1/10 equals 3,857.13 or 13 hundredths. Let's keep cruising along here. So I'm going to multiply here. I got 2.28 times 7.9. This is how I'm going to write it out. Watch closely. 2.28 times 7.9. Now keep this in mind here. When you're multiplying, you do not have to line up decimals. I'm going to say that again. You do not have to line up decimals. You want the longer number on top, not the bigger number, the longer number. And 2.28 is longer than 7.9. Now I simply just multiply. 8 times 9 is 72. I put a 2, put the 7 up top. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 7 is 25. Put a 5 here, put a 2 here. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2 is 20. I'm going to erase these numbers up on top so I don't borrow the wrong one. Okay. Cross off this 9. I'm done with it. I'm going to put a place value here. 7 times 8 is 56, so I'm putting a 6 here. I'm carrying the 5. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 5 is 19. Put a 9 here, put the 1 up. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Add these numbers all up. I have 2 plus 0 is 2. 5 plus 6 is 11. I'm carrying the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. Carrying the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 5 is 8. And we have a 1. So watch closely here. So I have the number 18012. How many numbers are after a decimal in my question? 2.28, I've got 2 numbers after a decimal. 7.9, I got 1 number. So I have 3 numbers after a decimal. So my answer, I have to move the decimal 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. So my answer is 18012. That's how we do it. Here's another one. 49 and 7/10 times 0.6. This will be an easy problem because I got a 0 in there. Multiply across. By the way, I have 2 numbers after the decimal. So it means at the very end, I have to move that decimal 2 spots. 6 times 7 is 42. I put a 2 here. I put a 4 up top. 9 times 6 is 54. Plus 4 is 58. Put an 8 here. Put a 5 here. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus 5 is 29. I'm going to put a place value holder here, but I better subtract these things up or erase these things up top. Place value holder, which is awesome, is it's going to be 0, 0, 0. 0 times 7, 0. 0 times 9, 0. 0 times 4 is 0. I'm going to add these up. I've got a 2, I've got an 8, I've got a 9, and I've got a 2. 2 spots after the decimal, 2 spots after the decimal. I've got a 29.82. I love it. Let's keep cruising here. Now, I haven't said this in the video, but this, your 6th graders, you know that you need to press pause while you're doing this and see if you can solve it, okay? 3.84 times 13. I'm going to multiply. 3 times 4, I've got, oh, by the way, I've got 2 numbers after the decimal, so I have to make sure I move them 2 spots at the end. 4 times 3, I've got 12. 8 times 3, I've got 24. Plus 1, I've got 25. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Place value holder. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to add these things up. I've got a 2. I've got a 9. And 1 plus 8 is a 9. 1 plus 3 is a 4. 2 spots after the decimal. Move this decimal 2 spots. I've got 49.92. Look at this problem. I've got 3 numbers after the decimal. 53.9 times 0.19. I could put the 0 in, but it's not needed, okay? Remember to press pause and then check your work as we go through here. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 3 would give me 27 plus 8, I should say. 27 plus 8 will give me 35. 5, carry the 3. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 3 is 48. Place value holder here, and 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5. I'm going to add these things up. I got a 1, I've got a 14. 1 plus 8 plus 3 gives me 12. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 5 is 10. I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal. 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal. My answer is 10.241. Janine rides her bike at an average speed of 11.8 miles per hour. At that speed, how many miles can she ride in 6.5 hours? Now, this isn't a fraction, but I think it would be a lot easier if we change 6.5 to a decimal, so that means it would be 6.5. So how would I write my number model? It would look like this. 11.8, apologize. 11.8 times 6.5. Let's solve it. 11.8. Remember, I want you pressing pause and I want you following along. Okay? 0.5. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 5 times 1 is 5. Place value holder. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Add these things up. 9 plus 8 is, or 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 8 is 17. 1 plus 5 is 6. We got a 7 here. How many spots are after the decimal? 1, 2. Move this spot, 1, 2. So we have 76.70, and that is going to be in miles. Okay. Let's look at the next one here. Kate types at an average rate of 1.25 pages per quarter hour. If she types for 2 3/4 hour, about how many pages can she type? Well, what would our number model look like? We're going to have to take that 1.25, 1.25, and we're going to have to multiply that per quarter hour, which would be times 4, right? Quarter would be, there's 4 quarters in an hour, okay? Or 4 15 minutes in an hour. And then we're going to multiply that by 2.75. This is why 3/4 as a decimal is 75. So we have to solve this. So first of all, 1.25, we have to multiply that by 4. So I'm going to change colors here so we can look at something else other than red. 4 times 5, we've got 20. 4 times 2, we have 8, plus 2, we have 10. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. I have two numbers in the decimal, so my answer is 5 there. So this part of the problem is 5. So I'm going to take 2.75, I'm going to multiply that by 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. I'm putting a 7, I'm putting a 3. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Two numbers after the decimal, two numbers after the decimal. My answer is 13.75. So how many pages can she type? She can type 13.75 pages. Do you see how I can go through this fairly fast? Because I know how to multiply. If you cannot multiply, this is going to be very, very challenging for you. Find the area of the square, or find the area in square meters of a rectangle. The length is 1.4, the width is 2.9. So I have a 1.4 here. I have a 2.9 here. My number model, if I'm finding the area, I just simply have to multiply length times width, right? So I'm going to go 2.9 times 1.4. What does that equal? Well, let's look over here. Essentially, I'm going 29, right, times 14. Let's see how I do. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 2, I have 8, plus 3, I have 11. Place value holder. I'm going to erase this on the top here so I don't get messy. Okay. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 2 is 2. I add these things up. I've got a 6, I've got 10, I've got 4. Two numbers after the place value, so my number is not 406. It is 4.06 is my answer, and it is in square, or meters squared. Keep cruising along. 20% of $80. Now watch closely on how I solve this, okay? There's many ways to solve it, but I'm going to show you the quickest way. 20%, how do I write that as a decimal? It's 0.20, okay? Keep watching closely. $80, an easiest way to put that with all the zeros is just plain 80. Would everyone agree? I think so, okay? Now, do I really need 0.20 or could I put 0.2? I could put 0.2. This 0 is not really needed, okay? Because when you're changing 0.2 into a percent, you would have to add the 0, change it to a percent. Anyways, I'm working with 0.2. I have 80 and I have 0.2. Watch closely. If I do 80 times 0.2, I'm going to get 0, I'm going to get a 16. I have one number after the decimal, change it, boom, 16 is my answer. I'll show you another one. Watch closely. Follow along. 5%. How do I write 5% of the decimal? A lot of you are going to do this. I'll tell you what, that is 50%. 5% is 0.05. That's how you write 5%. Of is multiply. $220, we'll put it as 220. Watch closely. Do I need this 0? I don't need this 0, so now I'm at 0.05. I can't get rid of this 0. This 0 is a place value holder. So now I'm taking 220 times 0.05. If I multiply these, watch closely. This is how it works out. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Place value holder, 0, 0, 0. I add these things up. I have a 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay? How many numbers are after the decimal? I have two numbers after the decimal. 1, 2. 1, 2. My answer is 11. 11.00. Let's move on. 15%. How would I write that as a decimal? 0.15 of 640. Let's work it out. 640 times 0.15. I multiply 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 4, 20. 6 times 5, or 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2 is 32. Place value holder. 1 times 0, I better erase this. Kind of cruising along here, kids. But you're doing great. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 6 is 6. I'm going to add these things up. 0, 0, 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. How many numbers are behind a decimal? 1, 2. 1, 2. My answer is 96. If you're struggling with multiplication, I'm going to have you watch these videos again, okay? I know how to do this. This one's a good one. 30%, watch close, 0.30 of 80. 30% of 80, how do we do this, okay? 0.30. Now, if the 0 is on the end, you can get rid of the 0, so 0.3 works, times 80. A lot of you are like, The answer's got a 24 in it. You are right. 80 times 0.3, 0, 24. How many numbers are after the decimal? 1. Move this decimal 1. The answer is 24. I know I cruised through this, but I know it was getting long, okay? It's really, really important that you know how to do long multiplication, especially in 6th grade here, okay? You have to know your facts. You have to know how to do that so you can cruise through this. Make sure your decimal is in the right spot. I look forward to working with you in math, and hopefully this video helped you out. Good luck.